Coming up on Now See This. A linebacker lawman makes a hit that turns other cops into cheerleaders. A terrible attack on man's best friend sends this poor pup under the knife.
He's part of the family.
And a couple of amateur filmmakers watch as their movie fades to white.
That hurt.
It's dramatic, destructive, and downright dumbfounding.
Don't do that! She's out, she's running across the freeway on foot!
Think you've seen it all? Now see this. Smoke curls through the Oklahoma City skies as a hotel burns. A toddler playing with matches caught his room on fire. And now flames are racing across the top floor and roof. Firefighters rush the building and tell hotel guests to run for their lives. The building's roof is going to collapse. Corporal Mike Medrano is one of the first on scene at the 5-alarm blaze.
The roof was pretty well involved. We were starting to hit the hot spots and fighting the fire.
Mike's captain orders him to attack the fire from the 3rd floor balcony. It's a scary assignment. Flames are just inches from Mike's helmet, but this 24-year veteran thinks he can handle the heat.
At the time, everything's going so well, we had to break up and do some advanced lines on the east side of the fire to try to cut it off.
Tackling the top floor alongside of Mike are 2 other vets from a sister station, Lieutenant Homer Thompson and District Chief Ron Moss. The fire has eaten away the roof, and the overhang is next. Their job is to pull down small chunks to stop the flames from spreading. Lieutenant Thompson carefully tugs at it, while Mike and the chief guide him. The trio thinks the maneuver will help, but all that tugging spells disaster. A 30-foot-long slab of the overhang collapses. Mike manages to dodge the flaming avalanche, but the other 2 aren't so lucky.
He was swinging away from me. I was concerned about the other 2 firefighters.
The district chief, within a year of retiring, is thrown to the floor with fire on his back. Mike must help him.
I did stumble and fall, but when I finally regained control, I helped Moss get up, and I said, "We got to find Homer. I think he's buried."
Homer is nowhere to be seen. So the chief ignores his singed flesh and charges toward the flaming rubble.
So have I got my man under this pile of debris? We didn't know.
20 seconds in and still no Homer. It doesn't look good. But then, like a ghost, Homer walks out dazed, but in one piece.
I didn't have time to think about anything. Everything come down in an instant.
Homer wasn't supposed to be working today. In fact, since taking a job in the chief's office, he rarely fights fires anymore. But Homer couldn't stay away when he heard a 5-alarm fire was threatening lives. His good deed almost kills him, but thanks to an open door behind him, he's able to fall back and away from the fiery debris. Homer and the district chief suffer some minor burns to their necks, but that's nothing considering 300 pounds of falling, flaming stucco could have crushed and buried them.
Just for a flash second, it was all orange and we knew we had to get away.
It's amazing their injuries were so small, but it's even more amazing that they were the only ones hurt battling the blaze. Stamina was key in containing the flames, but it was the trust and support of fellow firefighters that allowed them to face the front lines of fire.
When we come to work, we get there, it's just like my brother. We're all brothers, so I have all the confidence in the world with the guys.
Nick Baldwin and Mike Nugent aren't your average Montana ski bums.
Gonna poach a little powder in the backcountry here.
All of my friends had a Tuesday, Thursday class schedule. You can ski Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, which is plenty.
Sure, these lifelong buddies love carving virgin slopes and pulling off massive aerials, but their motivation is a little more artistic. They're making a film capturing the speed, gravity, and beauty of backwoods extreme skiing.
We're filming for our ski movie that we were making that year, and we went out of bounds that afternoon because we thought there'd be some good snow on the backside of the mountain range.
But this cinematic pursuit takes Nick, the director, and Mike, his star, deep into the heart of avalanche territory. A fact that gets their adrenaline pumping.
Very large wet slide, very, very large. Gotta be very careful today. Come on, lad. Why don't you rip for me? There she goes.
Before they head down any slope, these powder hounds pound on the snow, trying to set off small avalanches for two reasons. One, it's a rush. But two, it should also prevent much bigger slides. However, it's a mix of arrogance and naivete to think this process will keep them safe.
Just set off about a 2-foot slab, big old slide here.
But today, as Nick sets up his camera and Mike hits the slope, they bite off more than they can chew.
I knew Mike was in trouble the instant he started skiing because the ground was just like coming up from underneath him. It kind of swallowed him from all sides.
Mike vanishes into a wave of white, and now it's coming for Nick too. Realizing the thundering wall of snow is going to reach him, Nick abandons the camera and clings to the nearest tree. He hangs on relentlessly as the avalanche blasts past him.
Two big waves came through me, came over me.
Nick, the cameraman, is fine, but Mike's been swallowed up by one of the most destructive forces of nature. He could be anywhere, buried under 10 feet of snow.
I was in a panic to immediately start searching for him. He started yelling immediately. I was overjoyed to hear that he was alive.
But it isn't over. Nick has to leave Mike in the snow, trek over these mountains, and find help. It takes hours for rescuers to return. Several days later, Nick goes to the hospital and turns on his backup camera to capture his buddy alive, but not quite well.
If this part of my leg goes that way at all, kills, dude. My femur was completely broken in half. I thought I broke my waist, but it turns out to be a pelvis. After I was out of the hospital, I realized 2 ribs were broken. That hurt.
And what was it like being trapped and tossed by an avalanche of this magnitude? Only Mike can say.
I got hit in the back and tumbled, swirling through time and space, and more space than time because I was going pretty fast. At that point, I pretty much knew I was gonna die.
Thankfully, Mike avoids the morgue. Although he'll be in his hospital bed for 4 days, rehashing his amazing ordeal.
I thought I was gonna die.
Nick is back skiing immediately, but Mike takes a little time off from the sport he loves to heal his bones and his psyche. And as for the movie they were making, it may never be seen, but for Mike and Nick, it's already a big hit. "200 yards off the North Atlantic coast, full-grown men are stripped to the waist, racing across a well-greased telephone pole. What on earth are they doing? Welcome to Gloucester, Massachusetts, home of the annual Greasy Pole Contest, a competition that flies in the face of reason.
I think people do the Greasy Pole Contest because, number one, it's there. Number two, it's a challenge. People want to be part of it and try to take a crack at it.
It's a dangerous sport for manly men. But 2 decades ago, everyone was talking about a 14-year-old named Peter Frontiero.
Peter Frontiero, walking for his dad, Joe Black Frontiero.
Peter's dad was a greasy pole champ back in the 50s. Now, young Peter is attempting to follow in his father's greasy footsteps. But Peter was lucky to even be selected as one of only 40 contestants. Entry is tough, and eligibility even tougher. You have to be a local, you have to be male, and it helps to be part of a family legacy. And while only one man per year can win, there are perks for all competitors.
It's one day you get a chance to dress up in drag and get away with it.
But being a superhero won't get you the flag. It takes technique. After all, the Greasy Pole Contest is half sport and half dance class. Some guys do a little soft shoe. Some guys do the slide. But most of them end up in the drink. Peter got his moves from his dad.
Just stare at the flag, you know. Don't take your eye off the flag.
That's why, even at the ripe young age of 14, the flag was his.
We got a winner, Chuck. It's the first time I ever seen my dad cry, and people telling me my grandfather cried.
Peter was the youngest winner ever, but he and everyone were even more surprised the next year, when he won again.
He did it! He did it!
I come up, all I heard was tooting, hollering, people just giving me high fives, grabbing onto me. I'm going underwater, swallowing water. It was just amazing. Actually swallowed grease.
His father, Joe Blackford, a winner way back in the 50s, like father, like son.
And they were just carrying me. I seen my family cheering, all my friends. I was just, I was on cloud nine. It was amazing.
You won't get rich from winning, but if you want to be the toast of Gloucester, this is the way to do it.
I would equate it to like winning the NBA championship or Super Bowl. And there's a lot of people who get legendary status because of that.
Over the years, Peter grabs the victory flag an incredible 7 times.
I bleed grease.
More importantly, Peter avoids any career-ending injuries.
I've seen people break their ribs. I've seen people blow their eardrums out. I've seen one person get totally knocked out, totally whack his head on the pole.
Today, Peter has founded a junior greasy pole contest that happens every year before the main event. His advice to the prepubescent pole walkers?
If you're afraid, don't even go up there.
Inside this Delaware townhouse, a convicted drug dealer with a gun and an attack dog is holding the entire Newcastle County Police at bay. He doesn't know it yet, but among the cops outside is a former high school football hero who wants to bring his rampage to a violent end.
As the team leader of the SWAT unit, our responsibility is to deploy the manpower, make sure all the people were in their positions. So when the takedown went down, everybody was in place.
48 hours ago, police responded to a domestic disturbance at the home of Anthony Edwards and ended up dodging bullets.
When he was firing, it was very traumatic, very scary. I mean, I actually felt like I was going to lose my lunch at one point. It was obvious that he was not going to come without a fight.
The man holes up in his house. The police evacuate the man's ex-wife and dozens of neighbors, and then cut off his water, his food supply, and the power. 2 days later, a crowd has gathered. Negotiations have failed, but hunger hasn't.
We thought that Anthony would be willing to come out and try to get some food, and we would try to create as many different things for Anthony to be concerned about.
The trap has been set, and the takedown team is ready. Officer Reyes drops off a bag of food and backs away. This is the bait. With a dog's leash in one hand and a pistol hidden in his pocket, the on-edge suspect inches toward the first meal he's had in 2 days. That's when Reyes leads the charge. Even in slow motion, it's a wicked tackle as Officer Jack Reyes makes it past the guard dog and blindsides the suspect.
I heard a big puff of air come out of him and he went down.
A former high school football player, Reyes hasn't stepped on a field in 2 decades, but apparently there are some things you never forget.
I can remember my old high school coach always saying, keep your head up, keep your feet moving, and wrap your arms up.
The cops aren't the only ones happy to see the man in custody. With their 2-day eviction over, the neighbors return home. And thanks to one officer with a linebacker mentality, this man will call a jail cell home for several years. An hour ago, this dog named Bear endured a startling injury. A Swiss Army knife was plunged into the top of his head. Amazingly, the knife just missed the brain. And so far, Bear is merely in a state of shock.
He's doing pretty good.
It was a deranged neighbor who drove the 4-inch blade into Bear's cranium. Now that neighbor is in police custody, while the dog's owners rush their wounded pet to the animal hospital.
Well, I've had a dog about 2.5 years. He's really protective over the family, and he's part of the family.
Tim and his girlfriend are emotional wrecks, in stark contrast to Bear, who seems simply dazed and only slightly confused. As the dog sniffs around the room, he appears oblivious to the fact that if he whacks the protruding knife against something, he could cause himself further damage. While Bear doesn't seem to be in serious pain, the humans around him know better. This dog needs help, fast. Within moments, Bear is put under anesthesia, and the vet shaves the hair around the wound to prepare for surgery. It's a fairly straightforward procedure. Pull the blade out, carefully. After all, it appears the poor pooch's brain has gone untouched. But there's a problem. The blade doesn't want to budge. Tim can't bear to watch as the doctor strains to wrench the stubborn knife out of his pet's skull. After several agonizing moments, the blade is finally pulled free. Incredibly, there's no brain damage from the injury, or the extraction. But because it is such a deep head wound, the vet fears a likely infection could make all his efforts worth nothing. Much to Tim's dismay, Bear will have to remain at the hospital for observation.
It's just a waiting period, and hopefully he comes out on top, you know, and he's all right.
A few days later, Tim returns to find Bear up and happy to see him.
Yeah, I miss my old boy. I miss him.
Best of all, the vet gives the dog a clean bill of health.
Come on. Hey, buddy. He said he's going to be all right, and he's no harm and nothing like that done. Just ready to go home now.
The neighbor is never convicted for hurting Bear. But all Tim really cares about is having his beloved pet back at his side.
He's all ready to go now. Thumbs up.
It's 10 o'clock on the freeways of Southern California, and these children should be in bed, not surrendering to police. How could something like this have happened?
She is flying right now. 85 miles an hour down these side streets.
Moments ago, the woman driving this Jeep and her teenage friend ran from a store with an armload of stolen goods.
We've got a unit coming the other way, and the Jeep just flies right by him.
They drive like seasoned crooks with a big score, as if every move could be the difference between getting away with thousands of dollars or getting sentenced to a lifetime in prison.
Oh, did she hit that car?
But the loot they've taken tells a very different story.
All they were wanted for was stolen diapers, petty theft, and we just can't believe it.
The teen in the passenger seat wanted diapers for her 2 kids, who are actually in the car with her. A third woman sits in the back seat with yet another child.
Onto a busy street now, there is traffic out.
6 total passengers, 3 of them children, in a car designed for only 4.
Through the intersection. Oh, that car almost got hit by the suspect.
None are properly fastened in their seats, and this Jeep is not designed for high-speed maneuvers. The mothers plead with the driver to stop, but she's only thinking of herself.
And she's got cars up ahead. She's on the wrong side, right in the center divider there.
At these speeds, every turn could prove deadly. The Jeep has a soft top, which would be worthless in a rollover crash. No mother's hug would have the strength to keep a child from being thrown through the roof.
60 miles an hour now.
The driver realizes she can't elude police on city streets, so she makes a heart-stopping decision. She heads for the open highway.
Well, she jams on the brakes there. She's getting on the 10 freeway.
Ignoring every plea of her passengers, she revs it up to over 100 miles an hour. Startled drivers can barely react to the swerving renegade.
Oh, almost loses control there.
Police are desperate for a solution, but before they can make a move, the woman does something completely unexpected.
Hard on the brakes there. She's stopping. She stops right there.
Low on gas and options, she stops on the shoulder. It appears the chase is over. But not for this woman.
Oh no, don't do that! She's out, she's running across the freeway on foot right now. Cars are barely missing her. This is disastrous. We've seen this kind of thing before. She's to the far side, she's running down the shoulder, looking back. CHP is trying to stop traffic. Oh no, she's going back across. Cars are still coming. And a CHP officer, he's behind her now, he's got his gun drawn. Get on the ground, he's saying.
Watch again as the adrenaline-amped woman makes the insane decision to race headlong across 4 lanes of highway traffic. Cars barely miss colliding with her as she scampers across the asphalt. As officers close in, she charges back across the lanes, searching for any way out. But her effort is too little, too late.
They do have traffic stopped on the 10 freeway now. We're just between Dudley and Fairplex. She's down on the ground. They get her, they drag her. They're dragging her to the shoulder, and it looks like she is in custody. Finally, wow, that was very dangerous as she ran across that freeway.
Unsure of whether anyone has weapons, police carefully empty the Jeep of its remaining passengers. The first occupants out are the most terrified.
And there is a child. Unbelievable. 2 of them, small children getting out, and now an adult following them with a third small child in this Jeep.
As heartbreaking as this sight is, police know it's the best ending they could have hoped for. Everyone is alive and safe. Charged with 3 counts of child endangerment, the driver gets sentenced to 7 years in prison. By the time she gets out, these kids will have grown up. Hopefully, they'll have found a better role model. Santiago, Chile, where the Maipo River has burst at the seams, and most of the lower classes live in the floodplain. Torrential downpours have engulfed 75% of the city and cost almost 130,000 citizens their homes. As people flee toward higher ground, they find their escape barred by washed-out bridges and shattered railroad crossings. Helicopters try to rescue those who've been stranded. Saving them one at a time by chopper is the best that rescue crews can offer. They're stretched thin trying to reach the multitudes who have found themselves surrounded by the rising floodwaters. It's the lucky few who get spotted and carried away to safety. Everyone else has to get out on their own. As one victim fights the current, rescuers spot an incredible sight just upstream. A man trying to save his horses, his 2 most valuable possessions, has been swept up in the raging water. Holding on for dear life, he sees the safety line of travelers on the near bank. He lunges. He pulls one man into the wash with him, but against all odds keeps hold on his steed as the other rescuer grabs his hand. The man spins, looking for his other horse, who incredibly has found footing on her own. The disaster robbed thousands of people of their homes and their possessions. But each person who escaped has their own amazing story of survival and rescue. For this man, saving his livelihood was worth risking his life. He was lucky to get out with both. Demolition is more than a science. It's an art where anything less than perfection can cost human lives. In Des Moines, Iowa, demolition teams wire up a 91-year-old warehouse building. Its time has come and gone, and now hundreds of dynamite charges will send it packing. Each one has to be placed precisely or someone will get hurt. News cameras surround the building from a safe distance to catch the monster implosion from every angle. It's an awesome sight, but it's about to get even grittier. Tucked in the corner of the building's bottom floor is a home video camera that'll take you inside the bowels of this relic as it becomes rubble. Tons of flying debris kill the camera's picture, but it doesn't destroy the camera entirely. A few days into the cleanup, it's found. The camera's worthless, but the footage is one of a kind. The implosion topples the warehouse in under 20 seconds, and no one is hurt. All this to make way for a new parking structure. From land to sea, the destruction continues. The 30-year-old Australian warship HMAS Derwent is sadly laid to rest in the Indian Ocean. Its outdated design is useless above water, but 200 meters below, it will do great good by serving as a haven for marine life and divers. And in the waters off New Jersey, experts are preparing the most ancient form of explosives: fireworks. But that doesn't mean things can't go horribly wrong. A 7-man crew conducting a 4th of July show are now trapped aboard a burning barge. Hundreds of explosives on board accidentally caught fire, and now fountains of flame are spitting in every direction.
In a few minutes, it got from being under control to out of control.
Thanks to the Coast Guard, all of the men on the barge when it exploded are pulled from the sea, alive. In fact, no one is hurt in any of these blasts, which is impressive. Because when things go boom, they can also go bad.